Hi there. Let's look at data types. So what are data types? In different programming languages, data is handled differently. So let me start by giving an example. Let's say you are creating a system, and in this system you expected to handle student details. So a student will have a name, they might have an identity, a national identity number, and then there may be a field where they need to say whether something is true or false, like married, yes or no. And then there may be something like date of birth. So these are different data types, and they would need to be handled differently. We have programming languages which are strongly typed, and then we have those which are weakly typed. So a strongly typed programming language is one which explicitly requires you to say the kind of data that is expected at any particular point. Like if you create a variable, we are going to look at variables later on, but if you create a variable, you have to say what kind of data type that variable will be. Is it going to be a number? Is it going to be some kind of unexpected sentence? Is it going to be a character? You have to say that in a strongly typed language. A weakly typed language, you just define the variable and you can give it any data type when you're implementing it. So if you've ever used Access, Microsoft Access, when creating some kind of a database, you'll also see there are different data types there. You'll come across something like currency. I think there's currency, there's a date, there's text. So that's the same kind of thing, data type. So they vary with programming languages. And as I said, this introduction to programming is not an academic course. So I'm telling you things that you're going to experience in programming languages. So you will use one programming language, you find that it doesn't have something that another has. An example is SQL. If you look at the kind of data that you can put in SQL, you'll have different things as compared to something you'll have in Java. So going back to what is a data type. So data types provide identification for various types of data used in computer systems. So if you're putting in some kind of data into the system, you need to tell it the kind of data you're putting in. Is it a number? Is it a character? If you want to look at the various data types and a whole lot more information about this, just go to these two links. But generally, in most programming languages, you're going to come across some kind of data that handles characters. So a character, something like A, B, or something that handles words, maybe name. And then you'll have some kind of a data type that handles numbers. So you can have an integer 1, 2, or -1, -2, or you can have a floating point number, which essentially deals with decimals. So if you have 2.1, 3.14, so there'll be some kind of data type that will handle that particular kind of data in the programming language. So it will all entirely depend on the kinds of data types that are available in that particular programming language that you will be using. And of course, when you're learning the programming language, you'll come across the data types and you'll be able to know how to use them for that particular programming language. Yeah, so you can also have true or false. This refers to the Boolean. Like an example I gave was you're asking someone if they're married or not. They say yes or no. So that will give you a scenario of true or false. That's a Boolean. And then we can also have references. Now references are things like arrays, pointers. So we look at arrays later on. Okay, in this video, we've just said something about data types, and the important thing is for you to realize that there are different kinds of data types and you'll need to handle them, especially when you're taking input from users. If you're taking input from users, maybe it's a username, you need to control the kind of input that goes in there. That is why when you go to some kind of a website and you're filling a certain form and you try to type in your email, don't forget about the email, you try to type in actual words like ABCD in a place where you're supposed to put in your phone number, you'll see an error. That is due to data type. Maybe it was indicated that the kind of data type that goes in here are numbers only. And if you put anything else, that will give you an error. So in the next video, I want to go to the C++ documentation and just brush over some of the kinds of data types that we have there. So I'll see you in that video.